Guys, welcome back to the Matt Chat Podcast with myself. Because I am a pretty self.
Because you are pretty. You look a lot like one of our old guests.
Special guest, that is.
Exactly. Paul Ciotto, Frank Ciotto, Christopher Shea, Peter Oberg, producer extraordinaire, the Matt Chat Podcast, back once again. Guys, gals, people, friends, foes, enemies, so on and so forth. Great topic today, as they all are. I had put up a meme, they call it meme. I had put up a meme not too long ago and tagged a bunch of the guys I mentor. Well, really, we all do here, that are at the next level in college athletics, and more so the meme, whatever, stated something from a coach out there that said, don't be that hometown guy that failed out of college, and was nothing but a hometown legend and goes back home to that, and that's all they have. And I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember exactly.
Right.
And I'm sure we'll put it up for you guys in the episode at some point. And what I found is now that, my son is actually going into his second semester as a college athlete, and understanding what it took, more importantly, to get ready to be there. And then once you get there,
what it takes to stay there.
Exactly. What it takes to stay there. And I think that...
And not just stay there, but compete at a high level.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we've said this 1,000 times. When you go to play a college sport, no matter what it is, everybody's good. So they don't recruit you if you're not good. So guess what? And there's going to be guys there that are better than you that they've recruited.
Absolutely.
So...
And you'll be fighting for your spot
every year.
Every single year.
Every year you fight for your spot. And I think that, or I should say I know that if you come from a weak program or a weak school or a weak whatever,
or if you've been able to be part of favoritism or getting,
Listen, nepotism, favoritism, the
But not only
list
that,
goes on.
but even if you've been able to to kind of like another podcast that we talked about where you get privileges because you know people. And you
Correct.
have to put the work in.
Correct.
That is going to show.
But I think also, more importantly, to add to what you're saying is the fact that if these athletes that come from the high school level that have been big fish in a very small pond and had to do very little to nothing to be successful in those
Never
arenas,
ventured out to see what the rest of the world is like.
and didn't have to work.
Right.
I mean, let's be honest. They did not have to work. They did little to nothing. They showed up. They padded up, or they got on the mat, or they got their baseball in their hand, and they showed up because they're athletes, and particularly in that particular venue, they didn't have to do anything and be successful. The school they're at, the class they're in, so on and so forth. And that hurts them because the old saying is, I think it goes that hard work beats talent, right?
Well, how about just this?
And talent that doesn't work hard isn't successful.
Success is
Yeah.
rented. And you need to pay your dividends
J.J.
every
Watt.
single day.
J.J. Watt.
There it is.
From the Texans, NFL great. That's his saying.
Yeah.
It's rented, and you're like, it's rent's due every day.
Exactly.
But I think more importantly is having had a conversation with someone that we know mutually, you don't realize the fact of how lost these parents are, these coaches are. I mean, I want to be broad here, but I knew what it was going to take because I learned from guys around me because I never did it. But I knew, having been taught and observing, okay, this is what's going to take for your son or daughter to excel.
To be successful at the next level.
At the next level. And that doesn't make a difference if it's Division I, II, or III. It's collegiate ball, collegiate whatever. And being prepared, and once getting there, understanding that it's a year-round process. It doesn't make a difference what division you're in at whatever sport. They own you. It's a full-time job.
And the
Okay?
attrition rates at these schools and the turnover rates are significant.
Right. And we think we put up there was a graph that was put up, and I showed it to you
Yeah,
last night.
absolutely.
Of just how low the percentages are of students that transition from high school to
school.
college that succeed, that stay. And they give you the number of participants in high school that translates to the number of participants at to college level, Division I, II, or III, and the percentage that stay.
What is the bottom line of that graph? So
The bottom line is that you're looking
The
at some-
percentages are like less than 3%. It's scary.
less than
Are you serious?
0.3% for some of them. 0.3, and 0.3 and worked up to 1%.
Yeah.
Right, in some of the sports.
Right.
And that's Division III.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Division I's even smaller.
smaller, yeah. So,
Obviously.
Yeah. So the moral of the story is that, you know, you conversate with people, and they don't get it. And what's even funnier is
I think football was 1 million people play football.
1,049,000.
And there's like
Yeah.
70,000, or was it less than that,
Yeah.
that go to college ball.
Yeah.
From 1 million to 70,000.
70,000.
Just think about that number.
Yeah, and overall, it was like, it went from less than like 0.3, and I think it ended up at 2%.
Yeah.
You know, total between the three divisions. And wrestling was even less.
It was the least amount of transition.
Least amount of transition. So, but once you get there, is I think when parents don't understand or coaches don't understand what it takes, but I think the hypocrisy of it is that the ones that actually played at the collegiate level, they know what
better.
it takes. They know
They
better.
should know better.
They should know better. And the fact of the matter is that, you know, when you don't teach these student athletes what it takes to be successful at every level, how would you expect them to go to the big show? Okay. From high school and succeed. You know, my son's been in spring football since January 7th, okay? 5:45 a.m. runs, 7:10 lift. Then there's another lifting session in the afternoon. Then there's position meeting. Then there's X, Y, and Z, okay? And that's before the official spring
And
football
this is in
season.
the off season.
This is before.
Forget about the work you got to do in season
Yeah.
with watching the matches and.
He's on spring break this particular week and had to go back for 2 days because there's no spring break for football. They're like, oh yeah, you might be up, but you're going to be back here for practice for 2 days. Okay? You're going to do, this is what we're going to do. You're going to be up at a certain amount of time. This is what you're doing. So he had to go back. You know, and came back today, right? So, talking to certain people, and I was talking to someone we know mutually, and, you know, and this person was rambling about, oh, well, they'll get the pamphlet and this and that, and, you know, he's doing this and this and that. And I turned around and I said, yeah, that's good for high school.
Right.
But what about when it's over at the end of April or May, whenever the season ends with the sport, and they got to get ready to go play college level athletics, and even if it's not that time during the season, they're training. They're playing in off-season games. They're doing it. They're
never
going to
ends.
see what they're going to do. It never ends. And the fact that you're so ignorant, you're ignorant to it, or maybe your ego gets in the way because you think your kid's this fucking stud. You know, when it reverts back to that meme that we talked about, how a lot of them, listen, I'm going to go on a limb. I've said it to the boys I mentor. I said, all you got to do is go look back in your own hometown and see you standing on the sidelines who either failed out of college, okay?
Couldn't
They
handle the
couldn't
program.
handle. They couldn't handle the sport. They quit the
But,
sport.
more
or a
importantly, they
combination of
couldn't
both.
handle. I was gonna say they couldn't handle the juggling of the
Right.
workload with the sport.
Right.
That's the hardest.
That's the hardest part. And then, you know, and I said this because we talked about it about a month ago, and I said these particular players didn't love the game enough to even want to study to stay in school. That's a shame.
You were gonna say something.
Well, no, it's just, it took me back because I remember when, you know, after arena football and the league had closed down, I played semi-pro for 2 years. And I mean, I can't tell you how many kids, you know, were Division I athletes that are now doing semi-pro because they didn't want to be in Friday night for curfew. Or they're selling drugs on the side because they're trying to make money because they don't come, you know, for money and that's all they know. Or they're knuckleheads and they're getting in trouble and they're involved in, and they're just missing out on getting out of a shitty situation, but also, I mean, free education and then they're blowing it away because they're just knuckleheads. I mean, knucklehead's gonna do what a knucklehead's gonna do, though. I mean, there's no way. How do you?
Well, like it was said to me yesterday, you know, he'll get the pamphlet. What do you mean, fucking pamphlet? They mail out those preseason workouts to everybody.
Right.
Do you think the pamphlet's going to get you ready for a collegiate season?
Shane.
What people don't get, and we'll let Chris go to it too, because he's the expert here, because he's been in it the longest, is that if you are a high school athlete, I'm going to put this out there to you, okay? I don't care where you go to high school. If your coach or parent or mentors or whatever didn't tell you that the minute that your high school season ended, that's when your college training starts, you're so far behind the curve. And that's not even, let's take out the fact that let's say that you didn't come from a good program, right? And now you have to learn all these skills. Let's not say about the ones where they've, listen, every one of those kids are going to big schools and scholarships, and these are powerhouse schools, right?
These are programs where they got their kids ready for the next
Kids are ready
level.
for the next level, right? So you're talking about the kid now that's been in a smaller town, wherever the case is, and then the minute that season ends, and I'm not talking when the banquet happens, I'm talking the minute that last game is played or last match is had, you're taking a couple days, catching your breath, and you're back at it at another level because now you're going to the big show.
But I almost disagree with you. I think if they're gonna go to a higher level, that really starts your collegiate training starts like freshman year.
Yes, I
because
agree.
your book of work, your
Right.
body of work is gonna tell that story. And
Well, you're only.
but there are people too. Like, what do you say about? Because it happened to me. What do you say for athletes who are pretty decent, but then senior year, they have that. Their body changes from the natural development. They become a totally different animal.
Yeah, listen, we're not talking about that though. We're not talking about natural physical specimens. We're talking about the mentality. That's what I'm talking about here. Because at the end of the day, you have to be, if you're not.
And also the average person who's been able to get off on their laurels because
Right.
they're in a small town.
Yeah.
The competition isn't unbelievable.
Right.
And they're a decently athletic person.
Correct.
So they don't have to put in that extra work and still be successful.
But kids get better as they mature physically. We're not talking about that.
No.
We're talking about the habits. Here's a perfect
We're
example.
talking about creating good
Habits.
habits.
Here's a perfect example. So I said my son came home this weekend from spring break, but had to go back Sunday night for 2 days because of football. Saturday, he came to the gym. He's training, does his thing. I was telling you about it last night. 8 o'clock, I was just watching TV downstairs at my house in the man cave, my own private time. Came upstairs to get a snack because I got to eat.
You watching Ric Flair?
I was watching, believe it or not, the prelims for UFC.
Yeah.
So I came upstairs and I said to his mother, I said, where is he? She's like, he went back to the gym. I didn't have to tell him to. I said, oh, really? She goes, yeah. She said, he's like, I got to get some more work in. I got to leave tomorrow early because of the snowstorm. So I want to get
He didn't want to miss his
I
lift.
don't want to miss his lift. He don't want to miss what he was doing. He goes, I'll just get back to school early, and then I'll do some more when I get down there. But I got the time. I'm sitting here. I'm sitting here doing nothing, and that's the brain. I taught him to be like that. But the moral of the story is, I didn't have to tell him.
No.
I didn't have to tell him. Okay, that's the point. I did not have to tell him. And some of these student athletes have to be taught that if they haven't been taught that from freshman year.
Right.
Okay.
Or from their high school
or the high
coaches.
school coaches, or youth. It really starts at youth, in my opinion.
Your
But-
habits, definitely.
Yeah.
Your habits start
Yeah.
when you're young,
When
100%.
you're young. So my point is, like, when you hear this babbling of parents specifically, oh, this, they're that, they're this. You've been lucky that your child has been athletically gifted enough in a small pond to do nothing. Okay? Let's worry about the
And I'm
fact-
sure there's
Yeah.
a 1%ers that are so athletically
Yeah,
talented
no.
today, but we're not talking about them.
that, no.
We're talking about the 99%ers.
Yeah, and even the most elite guys are working their asses off. I mean,
If they wanna stay elite, they
want to stay
absolutely
elite,
are.
exactly. And listen, I'm a big fan of your body being your suit of armor, no matter what sport it is, and that says a lot of it. But you've got to be able to compete every year. I go back to something I said. I remember when we dropped Cristiano off for his first day at camp. Coach had a parent meeting for all the freshmen, and he said, I will be recruiting people to take your son's position next year. Just so you know. That's
Full
what we
disclosure.
do. Full disclosure. So it'll be up to them to stay within the curve and be able to compete every year for a position on the team. That's not what they're taught. That's, when you're patted on the back and you're playing this game over and over again by poor coaches, parents that are delusional, et cetera, what happens? This is the caveat, and this is where you're setting these kids up to fail, right?
Absolutely.
You're setting these kids up to fail. Talk about your situation where, and don't be modest because it's the truth. When your boys, now you listen, you're on both ends of the spectrum, right? Your oldest boy is ranked number 2 in the country. You're heading out to the NCAA tournament, right?
Mm-hmm.
He could be the national champ at the end of the weekend, okay? Your other boy's also going to qualify at the Division I level to the NCAA tournament, right?
Get it done, Shay.
Yeah, get it done. But the
All
point-
gas, no brake, baby. All gas, no brake.
Exactly. But talk about what it takes. Well, talk about, more importantly, when your kids, because I've heard you talk about where your kids, where you have good kids at youth level now, and you had said to a mutual friend of ours, and in a form of respect and love, and said you could combine all 5 of those kids, and Avery would beat that kid.
When he was in
he'd
eight,
pin him every time, right? And talk about that as it evolved and what it takes to get where you're at.
Here was the thing. With my boys, they were big fish in a small pond, like a lot of these kids.
Right.
And a lot of these parents are very comfortable
With that.
with their kids being a big fish in a big pond.
In a small pond.
Or excuse me, in a small pond. I wasn't. I wanted my kids to be big fishes in big ponds. And the only way to do that is to get out there and to challenge yourself, but more importantly, to challenge your kids.
Right.
And you challenge them mentally, physically, you challenge them by bringing them to different schools, you challenge them by not doing the status quo of what everybody else is doing. And I have to be honest, when you get out into that big pond, you find out that there's a whole bunch of big fish out there that you didn't even know existed.
Correct.
And they're all going to be vying for those same spots in college. So if you don't start learning those habits, if you don't start taking those initiatives, you're going to end up going right back to your small pond. And hey, God bless you if that's what you're looking for. But I learned a very humbling experience through this whole process. I thought my kids would be Olympic champions. I thought they'd be world champions. Hey, and they still might be. But what I've done in my own head now is I said, you know what? I'm going to be happy if my boys are just successful on the mat, doing what they're supposed to do, getting a good education and getting a job. And the one thing that I've learned is by putting all that hard work in and putting yourself out there, they're going to be successful at whatever else they do.
At life.
100%.
Right.
And at the end of the day, that's all I care about now. So I'm not that parent anymore that has these delusions of grandeur, because that's what they are, that my kid's going to be that 1%. I have the expectation that my kid's going to be whatever he wants to be, and I'm okay with it.
I think more importantly, what you're describing is that when you use athletics as a conduit to lessons in life, that's really what you're looking
Oh,
at.
100%.
Hey, we may be having a conversation 2 years from now where one of them is trying out for the world team. You don't know.
Absolutely. I'm just going to say
Yeah,
this.
Yeah.
There are the 1%ers, and again,
Yeah.
we're not talking about that.
Right.
But if you truly want to be successful and go to the next level, and to the level after that, and the level after that, you've got to go to the places where they provide, where they create those.
Iron sharpens iron.
Because they're not I hate to say this, a lot of them are not created here. They can be, and those are, like I said, those are those 1%ers. But if you truly want to go to that next level, you've got to find out where the programs are. You got to start learning where those habits are to do that, and you really have to focus on one sport. I know a lot of parents are going to be like, "Whoa, what are you?" If you want to go to the next level with that sport, you have to focus on that one sport all year round, because the sacrifice and the hard work that it's going to take to get you there, trust me, there's people doing it, and what you're not doing, they're doing, and guess what happens? They'll end up beating.
Well, I think anybody who's trying to compete at a high level at any specific sport, at some point you need to make a decision on making it your primary sport. Because even if you're that good, even if you're that talented, even if you are that prepared,
Yeah,
the
there's
fact
no-
of the matter is there's somebody else out there who's fucking sprinting and lifting and grinding while you're playing patty cake or doing a different sport or whatever the case is.
That's right.
While you're taking a break, there's someone who's taking a deep breath and pushing.
There it is.
And if you're not doing it, you're falling behind. Talent's only going to get you so far. It's only going to get you so far.
Because the
But-
talent pool changes. Like I said, when you get to college, everybody's good.
Yeah.
And you may be considered good, but they recruited someone that's better than you.
Look at this weekend. Look at
It's
this
their
weekend.
obligation to.
Well, look at this weekend. You had Woodley and Usman fight, right? And the whole week, what were they saying? I'm Division 1. You're Division 2, bro. It's a different level. Yeah.
got
Did you
dominated.
watch that fucking fight?
got
And
dominated.
granted, he's older, and granted, whatever, and maybe Woodley's head somewhere else. He's got a lot of other things going on in the fire. He's got a lot of irons going on, right? And that's a possibility. But good Lord, he didn't just take him down. He stayed on top of him. And that's just someone
No,
who's
he
hungry.
owned him.
While he was going to the studio making hit records, hopefully, this guy's drilling and working. and
Eye of the
swinging.
tiger.
Yeah, became the champ that way. I think that all these things are relevant, but I also feel that when you have an 18-year-old, and in my case was 17, going off to college, and if they don't have these habits, and if you're not building them to understand that, listen, man, this is not sunshine and rainbows. You're going to have to grind. You're going to have to work. Your first and foremost job at school, your first and foremost second job, meaning a 1A, is being a good athlete, and that you're going to have to put as much effort in. My son has had conversations
And
With-
constant guidance.
Yeah,
I mean, shit,
yeah.
even all the preparation that you've given him,
Yeah.
there were still times where
Heck
you had
yeah,
to be like,
man.
hey,
Because you got to go through it to see it. I mean, that's the thing, and I think even more so, like they all have evolved to the point where he's even counseled some of the guys he knows that are still at the high school level, saying like, I don't think you get it.
well, that was the other thing.
Yeah,
Once it
he's
clicked,
like,
You don't
once it-
understand what the commitment
Once
is
it did
until
click,
you've actually gone
right.
through it.
it fucking clicked. Of
course it did.
When it clicked, and he
Clicked.
embraced.
And even like, he's at Division III level, and he had one of his friends who he's had 2 conversations with, and he said, I want to play Division III this, and, it was between 2 sports, and Cristiano's like, I don't think you get it. You don't get it. You're not going to be able to play 2 sports, especially where you're going. They're not going to allow it, number 1. Number 2, it's a full-time job. Number 3, where you're going is one of the most elite divisions in Division III. You don't understand. You
You hit it
don't
on the head.
get it, yeah.
It is a full-time
It's a full-time
job.
job. And the fact of the
Period.
matter is that, I don't know who told you this. I don't know where you're getting this from, but you need to pick one and make this your job because that's what it's about. But the problem again, when the parent is not on the same page, right? Like it's as simple as this, right? Frank said this before. If you want to play a certain sport in college, right? And let's say that you're a football player, and now you would play a spring sport, but you have no intention of playing that spring sport ever again. Guess
Stop
what?
it.
That's the end of that
You're
spring
wasting
sport.
your time.
You're wasting your time because
you
guess
could be
what?
getting better at your
You
primary
need to
sport.
get better. You need to get ready. You need to understand what it is when you step on that field. You end up in camp in August specifically for football, or you end up stepping on that mat at the end of November, or you end up stepping on my. Listen, I'm going to brag a little bit. My nephew playing college baseball, did not have the greatest high school experience or coach. Went out there, played Penn State, went 3 for 3, stolen bases, hit a triple. He's a freshman. Okay? Why? It's like my brother said to him, you earned it. You're grinding, you're working, you're in here.
Every day he's
Every
there.
day, man.
Yeah.
But like at the gym.
On his vacations,
yeah,
And now
it's-
imagine if
yeah.
he was playing another sport,
Right.
And he wasn't in the gym working on his pitching, working on his
Yeah,
throw,
man.
working on his speed.
If his
working
attention
on-
was drawn someplace
Listen, if my
else.
nephew's an athlete, he'd be the quarterback on a football team. You know what I'm saying? That's the type of athlete he is. But here he is. That's what it's about. And my brother actually sent that graph that we're talking about to my son, to him, to a bunch of other kids that we know, and like, you guys should all be proud of yourself because you're part of that small percentage.
Absolutely.
And it's about the
Regardless of
grind.
what level you're at.
Yeah, listen, Cristiano came in this morning from the 5:45 a.m. run. He had lift at 7:10. He came in and he's like, I'm gonna come back and train again later. I don't have to tell him this. Okay? You don't have to tell your boys what they need to do.
Right.
Okay? This is my point. And they were doing this even before they went to college. Because they had people telling them all around them. And I know
This is
with
what it's
me,
gonna- this is what it's gonna
be.
take. This is
And
what
for
it's gonna
me,
take.
because I never did that, I had people who did tell him. Okay? And I used to tell him all the time, you think I'm bad? I'm nothing compared to what you're going to go to. Nothing. And that's where I think the biggest disservice and discredit it's done. And it's unfortunately, it comes from parents. I'm not even going to blame coaches to a degree because a coach is going to get comfortable in where he's at or she's at.
And a
gonna
coach has an obligation to the
Yeah,
team.
and they're gonna
As
work
a
it.
parent, you have an obligation
Yeah.
to your kid.
They're going to work in that paradigm.
Yeah.
Whether it's a good program or a bad program, that's what they're used to, that's what they're going to do. Do I think they should do more? Obviously, but at the end of the day, if you as a parent doesn't understand what you need to do, okay,
To help support your child to get to the next level, then
support, but tell them the fucking truth. Or go
Yeah, but a lot
find
of
someone
these-
that can tell them the truth.
But that's the problem. A lot of these parents who haven't even done it don't even want to let their egos go, pretend like they have a fucking clue, just like the asshole who's screaming at, like we talked about on a previous podcast, that the guy who's screaming at the kid, thinking
never
he's
did
got an idea. They have no idea. They don't know. And that parent too, if they see a little bit of success with what they think they're doing is correct, they're going to double down.
Yeah, no, he's right.
They're going to
gonna
double down.
He's right.
And now you have a monster. Because now this guy's walking around thinking he knows what the fuck he's talking about. He has, excuse my language, he has no idea.
None.
And he's creating bad habits are getting fortified in the kids learning and et cetera. And then on top of it, then you have God forbid, you have a coach who even further cements it. I mean,
Right.
talk about a double Whammy.
Listen, it's a recipe to not succeed, is what it is. It goes back to that, what I said earlier about that coach and that meme, you know, don't be that hometown hero that failed out of college. You know what I mean? That's what it comes down to. And again, your own passion wasn't enough to make you study. You know, your own passion wasn't enough to say, hey, listen, I'm playing college football, or I'm in college wrestling, or I'm playing college baseball, or I'm in college lacrosse, or I'm in college soccer, and, oh, wow, I got to work at this all year round. All year round. All year round.
It doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop.
Or if it does, guess what
Yeah.
happens? The guy they brought in now takes your spot.
Takes your spot. But, like, I think it's almost, listen, there are those anomalies where people get to college and like, oh, shit, I got to get on the train here. But for the majority of it, that's why that success rate or that participation rate
It's so
is
small.
so small. Because, listen, that's
You're in for a rude awakening.
You're in for a rude awakening. And I just think it's a huge disservice by parents specifically that because their kid may have been blessed with athletic ability and didn't have to do much at the high school level to be successful, to think that's going to carry over into the next level. You know how many times, you see these athletes, oh, and you hear the chatter, oh, they're going to go here, they're going to go there, and they end up either somewhere much smaller or nowhere at all. Because guess what? If they wanted you that bad, or people that really can evaluate talent, they would be knocking on your fucking door.
Right.
You know, and a lot of it, what I've learned about college coaches too, is that they are looking for specific personalities to come play their sports there. Okay, you can have all the athletic ability and
Oh, it's
accolades you want.
way
Yeah.
way more than that.
They're looking for character at D1.
And believe
D2,
it, they're
D3.
also looking for your grades because they need to
Exactly.
make sure their guy's going to be
Well, that's
eligible.
part of the character. That's part of the character. Is this particular athlete going to be able to handle the big show?
Right.
You know, I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. So, with that being said, I think in closing, just to say it out there is, man, don't act like you know if you don't.
Parents,
Number
do your
one,
homework.
Do your homework, and if you don't know, put them in front of somebody that does. And remember one thing: hard work, discipline, work ethic, work ethic, work ethic, discipline, work ethic, discipline, work ethic, discipline is what's going to get you anywhere in life, and specifically to the next level: athletics, business, life, so on and so forth. And if you didn't teach them that, then shame on you. Guys, the Matt Chat Podcast, Paul Ciotto, Frank Ciotto, Christopher Shea, Peter Oberk. See you next time.
Get your ass in the gym.